Hello, my name is Mia Landolfi, and I am a 20-year-old junior BFA student at the University of South Florida with a concentration in sculpture and multimedia arts. Currently, I feel that the big, busy world leaves a lot to be desired as a sensory-seeking individual, and I want to use my art to create the escape that I've always yearned for, using different materials such as painting and sculpture, video, ceramics, and especially costume, which I am starting to near towards in my artistic career. I want to create immersive exhibits and performances that will hopefully draw in a neurodivergent, sensory-seeking audience that can relate to me and my art. And I'm very inspired by the blacklight exhibits at Meow Wolf, as well as some sculptors such as Alex DeCorte, Janken Van Ziel, who is also a drag queen, and some drag performers such as Evie Oddly, Dusty Ray Bottoms, and DJ Sizzin. So by the end of this, my goal is to create this world that is rooted in the reality of like the abyssal underseas and the cosmos, as well as the otherworldly supernatural escape that me and my audience have always wanted to live in. So, welcome to my world!
My main series that I've been working on for the past year or so is called Sothic Space. It's a manifestation of the otherworldly magic that exists within the realm of reality and whimsical wonder. All of my projects within it have some connection to my own identity and my ideal dream world. Most of the works in this series are UV blacklight sensitive, and their appearance is changed by the blacklight, sometimes creating a day and night sort of effect, or in this case, highlighting specific parts of the piece that give them a magical feel. I made this painting thinking about how cool it would be to have glasses that transport me into a magical glowy world. This piece is called Neuromantic. It's a collage painting about identity crisis and obsession, and being perceived. These feelings that I was experiencing at the time sort of flooded me, and my normal life started to feel like this. There are two extremes: feeling something so heavily that reality disappears and you feel like you're living in a movie, and then there's feeling something so heavily that it embarrasses you and you're hyper aware of how much or how little of yourself to show. So I wanted to depict that. I think those first two paintings are the best examples of what motivated this series of work for me. Sometimes my work is also directly drawn from my real experiences and how they become their own magical worlds, like this one, which was a documentation of several punk rock and metal shows that I saw one week in September. The materials are very important here. I used some Monster Energy cans that I drank at the shows and the tassels that I wore in my hair, and all their graffiti was referenced directly from the venue walls. Similarly here, my neighborhood streets are bright and hot and so draining by day, but magical and alive by night when I'm riding on my scooter, listening to music in my headphones. The sunset sky starts to look fluorescent at some point, and of course, all the stars and streetlights and car headlights. I'm starting to focus on sculpture because I love the multimedia aspect of it and the interactive tangibility. For this carousel I made about performative identity and becoming a caricature of the self, I of course built the base with wood and paper, but I also incorporated lots of found objects, as well as drawing, fashion, and photography. And here are the other views of that sculpture, which I titled, "It might be the most glamourous thing you've ever seen in your whole life ever," because that's really how it feels to become this sort of caricature. Occasionally, I've been playing around with phosphorescent materials as well, and I plan to do so more in the future. In this one, I made this spaceship and covered it in 1,000 glow-in-the-dark stars. And some little characters have also been a part in this series, like my Star Bar and Whimsicar here. They're just cute little dreamlike critters, and you can fill them with candies or trinkets or whatever. Now here, I think, are a couple of the works that started to hint towards what I want to move on to next with my art. This was a photography experiment about my love for drag costume and my queer identity. I was beginning to get into costuming and playing pretend, which grew even more a year later when I made Televorp. This was an interactive photo booth where people could step in and dress up as little aliens and space junkie divas and play pretend on photo and video, speaking gibberish and playing with props. At this point, I realized that this is the sort of thing that I want to do next. I want to become the magical, otherworldly thing that I've been dreaming about with Sothic Space. So for my next series, I am going to be making the Space Junkie Divas. These will be full costumes with lots of handmade parts, found objects, and recycled materials that have this sort of robo, electro, cyber glam alien vibe. I made this guy and called it 00, inspired by a Gerard Way song. I came up with the design on the spot, knowing that I wanted it to have this holographic duct tape and lots of stripes and spikes. I plan on making lots of different ones with different silhouettes and color schemes, maybe some that are phosphorescent or fluorescent, or some that light up, and eventually creating performances with them. And here is my CV with my contact info, education, and awards, and all the group exhibitions that my work has been a part of, and the resources for those. And here's my artist statement. As a multidisciplinary artist in the neurodivergent community who combines media from a variety of sources, I'm compelled to create inclusive and immersive exhibits that engage all the senses in an otherworldly, flamboyant, and magical nature through sculpture. I've always found myself yearning for the perfect sensory escape or haven from the daunting, busy world that seems impossible to achieve as a sensory-seeking adult. With my art, I'm working to create that escape and mesmerize, capture, and comfort viewers through much more than just visual stimulation. I'm incredibly fascinated by the magic of the natural world uncovered in the abyssal underseas and the cosmos, as well as the surreal and maximalist nature of digital cyberspace. I would consider my art conceptually futuristic and reflecting an ideal liminal world that can rarely be reached. My art, sometimes playful and childlike, makes dream space a reality and freezes the viewer in this glamorous zone. My current artistic process mostly revolves around combining sources from the natural world and creating concepts from this creative process. I tend to use a variety of materials for the bulk of my sculptures, such as wood, metal, foam, or my own body as the work surface, and the glamorization and maximalization comes from the decorative materials and details. For these components, I usually utilize objects that I find on my own adventures in nature and materials that possess a luminescent, reflective, or interactive kinetic nature, such as lights, glow-in-the-dark objects, mirrors, buttons, and chains, to name a few. My art holds true that regardless of medium, it is possible to create any reality and become encapsulated in this reality. I am a living version of my art, and I carry my style and motivations with me in everything I do. If you'd like to explore my art more, here's my website where all of this is also posted, as well as my Instagram account where I post even more of my art. Blast off!